Hello and welcome to the video on adding and subtracting fractions with different denominators. So yesterday you looked at examples that had the same denominator. So for example, something like this. 3 over 7 plus 2 over 7. If you have 3 sevenths and you add 2 sevenths, well, if you have 3 of anything and you add 2 of it, you're going to have 5, and the bottom stays the same. So because they're both sevenths, the bottom is also going to be a 7. Okay, so the same thing happened with subtraction. So if you had 6 over 8 and you subtracted 2 out of 8, it was 6, take away 2, which gives you 4, and then 8, 8, and the bottom would be an 8. You could also simplify this, since 4 and 8 both have a common factor of 4, and you get 1/2 as your final answer. So today we're going to be looking at examples where the denominators are different. So in this situation we have a denominator of 3 and a denominator of 5. So you need to find the lowest common denominator, or the number that they can both skip count into. Okay, so if I take, for example, 3, that actually be 6, 9, 12, 15. I'm going to stop there. If I did 5, 10, 15. So this is the first number that they both have in common. If you want to speed this process up a little bit, you can look at a multiplication table and you can look across the row of 3 and across the row of 5 and see which number they have if you want to save yourself writing them out. Okay, so now my 3 to get to a 15 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It was the fifth step, so I'm going to times this by 5. And because I'm a fair person, what I do to the bottom, I'm going to do to the top. You can't just change the bottom of a fraction, or you can't just change the top without changing the other one. Okay, or else you change the amount that it represents. Now for my 5, it was 1, 2, it was 3 in line. So I'm going to times by 3, and I'm going to times by 3. Okay. Now, 1 times 5 gives me 5. 3 times 5 gives me 15. 2 times 3 gives me 6. 5 times 3 gives me 15. And now I'm in a situation that was identical to what you did yesterday, where the denominators are the same. So 5 plus 6 gives me 11, and 15, 15, and the bottom stays as 15. I'm going to ask myself, is there any way to simplify this? 11 is a prime number, so that means that its only two factors are 1 and 11. So there's going to be nothing that we can divide both 11 and 15 by. So that's going to be my final answer. So let's take a look at another one. So we're going to do 3 over 4 plus 1 out of 8. Okay. So we take a look. I'm going to skip count my 4s, 4, 8, 12. I notice already that we're going to have a common denominator here of 8. So what that means is I'm only going to have to change my first fraction. I don't actually have to change the second one. So we have 3 over 4, so 4 was once, twice, so I times by 2, times by 2, and I'm going to leave my other fraction the same. So 3 times 2 gives me 6, 4 times 2 gives me 8. I'm adding, and then the other one remained the same. And once again, I have a fraction that has a common denominator, so I can add the top. So 6 plus 1 gives me 7, and 8, 8, and 8. Again, there's no way to simplify 7 over 8, so that will be my final answer. Okay, so when I look at a set of fractions that I'm adding or subtracting, question number 1 is always, does the smaller denominator skip count into the larger one? In this case, 4 does skip count into 8. If your answer to this is yes, you only change one fraction. Okay, so you ask yourself, does 4 skip count into 8? Yes, it does. I only have to change the smaller denominator then. If it won't skip count in, then I need to find the first one that they both will arrive at. So let's take a look at a subtraction one this time. So we're going to do, let's see, let's go with 5 over 7, take away 1 over 3. So I ask myself, does 3 skip count into 7? 3, 6, 9. It doesn't. So that means I'm going to have to do some listing. So 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. I'm going to check with my 7. So 7, 14, 21. There's still nothing in common, so I'm going to go back to my 3s. I'm going to skip count a little bit more. So 18, 21. So I can see that I have found what will be my least common denominator. So with the 3s, it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm going to have to times by 7 and times by 7. When I'm talking about my 7, it was 1, 2, 3. So times by 3, times by 3. So take a notice here, what you see, we multiplied by 7 and we multiplied by 3. So when you're adding fractions, this method will always work, but there's a little bit of a catch. You can always multiply the denominator or the fraction by the other one's denominator. So for 1 over 3, I can multiply by 7 because that was the other denominator. For 5 over 7, I can multiply by 3 because that was the other denominator. The only catch to this is sometimes you don't end up with the least common denominator, which means you're going to have to simplify your fraction after, and I can show you an example of that after this. So if I finish this off, 5 times 3 gives me 15. 7 times 3 gives me 21, my subtraction sign. 1 times 7 gives me 7. 3 times 7 gives me 21. Finishing this out, 15 take away 7 gives me 8. 21, 21, and the bottom must be 21. Again, no factors in common, so I cannot simplify. So I'm going to show you an example of what I was talking about before. So let's go with another adding one. So we're going to say 2 over 4 plus 3 over 8. So in this situation, I should see that 4 can skip count into 8, and I should use 8 as my denominator. But if I choose to use my other method, and times by 8, and times by 8, and times by 4, and times by 4, let's see what we get. So 2 times 8 gives me 16. 4 times 8 gives me 32. 3 times 4 gives me 12. 8 times 4 gives me 32. 16 plus 12 gives me 28. And the bottom stays 32. Now right off the bat, I can see that 28 and 32 are both even numbers. So that means there's definitely a way to simplify this. It could be 2, it could be 4, maybe it's a 6. So I'm going to do the question the other way first. So I'm going to rewrite this. So 2 over 4 plus 3 over 8. So knowing that 4 can skip count into 8, I have to times by 2. So 2 times 2 gives me 4. 4 times 2 gives me 8. Plus 3 over 8 equals 7 over 8. So you can see that this cannot be simplified. This is the simplest form of your answer. Okay. If we go back up to the top at 28 over 32, they both have a 4 in common. So 28 divided by 4 gives me 7. 32 divided by 4 gives me 8. Okay. So that little trick of using the numbers, it will work and it will always get you to an answer, but lots of times you're going to end up having to simplify it. Okay, and if you're really good at simplifying, that's fine. Okay? If you just find the correct lowest common denominator to begin with, you won't end up having to simplify your answer most of the time. Okay, one more subtraction one. So we're going to take a look at, let's go with subtract 1 over 4. So I look at my 4 and I ask myself, can I skip count that into 9? The answer is no. So I'm going to start listing. So 4, 8, 12, 16, and 20. Then I'm going to do a couple of the 9. So 9, 18, 27. Still haven't found anything, so I'm going to go back and do some more 4s. So 24, 28, 32, 36. And next in line with the 9s would be 36. So I've now found the bottom. So for the 4s, it was 9 in, so I need to times by 9. And what I do to the bottom, I have to do the top. And for the 9s, I need to times by 4. Okay, so in this situation, that little trick is actually going to lead us to the lowest common denominator. So sometimes it will work out. So 4 times 4, 16. 9 times 4, 36. I'm doing a subtraction. Make sure you pay attention to the sign. 1 times 9 gives me 9. 4 times 9 gives me 36. I now have the same denominators, and I simply just have to subtract the top. So 16 take away 9 gives me 7, and the bottom is 36. If these explanations didn't work for you, there are tons of videos on YouTube, hundreds and hundreds of videos on YouTube. So take a look for a video adding fractions with different denominators. Okay, so this is the big key. Different denominators. Okay, so either adding fractions with different denominators or subtracting fractions with different denominators. Take a look at some other videos, get some different explanations. Maybe one of those will work for you. If you're still stuck, let one of us know, and we can definitely help you out. Best of luck. Check Google Classroom.